So, we are going to continue the Cascadia Transit Expansion Project. As of today, we're going on an adventure. We're gonna have fun because I'm deviating my I'm deviating my. Of course, my brain went there. It rhymed, so it's like, oh yes, I'm deviating my rectum. God, I hope not. We are deviating from my usual setup, which is to be consistent in the sense of going step by step. So we have a process so it makes it easiest and most convenient for you to be able to keep up and catch up and not be too confused. Well, you can go fuck yourself, and you can ride this train off the fucking cliff, because I'm intentionally derailing it today. We're gonna careen into the canyon, and we're gonna all die, but it's gonna be fun, because it's gonna be adventure. Okay? Cool! Alright. And by what I mean by that is that, as you can see here, we have the entire system thus far that I've created over the course of the last year, a little bit over a year, roughly. And we're gonna do something that I just decided, fuck it. I'm gonna just appease myself and my grievous, evil, hedonistic desires. And we're gonna start an interstate rail lines. We're gonna go all out. We're gonna pretend that I'm not still owing you at least 2 more lines that I already have in there in the Vancouver area, which I still, by the way, if you haven't seen the last video, have not determined their names or where the stations are going to be, or any of that stuff. Cool? Alright. But yeah, it looks like basically I gave the state varicose veins, if varicose veins were Barney and Friends. But anyway, we're going to continue with this, meaning that I'm actually, of course, because I'm Oregonian, and I'm fucking biased, and you can fuck yourself, we're going to start here in Slotigan. So, we're going to start in Slim, because US 20 runs east-west, through Oregon from Florence, if I recall correctly, or is it Newport? That's Lynn's Colon City. I went to 18, the Salmon River Highway, which I'm egregiously familiar with. That's Siletz Bay. There you go. It's it's Eugene that goes to Florence. I knew that. I did know that. But I'm always flipping those two around for some stupid reason. Don't ask me why. So I swear it is US 20 that goes through Salem, but actually I guess I was just dyslexic, so you can throw absolutely every last word I just spat out of my mouth into the fucking incinerator, because it's actually meant that we're gonna start in Eugene, Springfield. Cool? Okay, great. We're gonna start there, because that's where US 20 actually goes, east-west. From Florence, right here on the Sayusla River, east, we're gonna go through there, and we're going to eventually end up in Bend. Because fuck Redmond. But yes, Bend. And then we are going to go east. And eventually I want to end up in Boise. Boise, fucking, I don't care how you say it. I don't know why they care, but they do. They have a fit if you say it, and whichever way that is, that's wrong, and I'm too dyslexic to fucking know, and I don't give a shit enough to actually remember. So I say it both ways, because it's just also natural for me to do, as a fellow Northwesterner. But anyway, we're gonna go to Boise. We're gonna go infiltrate the boys, and we're gonna go do so stupid. We're gonna go do that and get us some white supremacists in our lives. No, that's the unfair cliche that all of Idaho gets because the Panhandle exists. Anyway, cool, great. Ow! I just bit my tongue. That's what we're. I'm a mess. Perfect for this kind of video, because literally my whole plan is that this is going to be kind of discombobulated. It's going to be more naturally in my own flow, meaning I actually don't even know how much editing I'm going to do, obviously, because it's pretense. It's before that. But we'll find out. But basically my objective is that I just want to have this natural flow, which means that you get to see a lot more of my process than I normally have in the videos. So this is going to be a longer one. You can think of it kind of like a VOD of a live stream, except with minimal edits in it. That's at least how I'm planning this out right now. So that said, after these 6 minutes of fucking stupid, useless preamble, let's do it. Cool? Great. We gotta go by Blackley, which, speaking of dyslexia, I consistently call Bulkley, because my head flips the L and the A around, and I always swear it's Bulkley until I... but yeah, and we can go by there. Possibly by Bloggett, but Bloggett is up here, so it's Probably not going to happen, but Bloggett would be quite nice. Actually, I wouldn't mind living out in the Bloggett area. That would be pretty neat. Anyway, let's fondle our Douglas furs. Our Douglas's fur. It's a county name joke, and plus a tree joke, and get on our flow in reverse. Let's do it. Except I'm gonna need to create a category because I haven't done that yet for they. Well, I think we have. It would be under this. Cascadia I such a he. So I guess we'll just I was say dump it under here, but now we really shouldn't. Okay. Also, it's like 400 to 500 miles. It's either 400 to 500 miles, I don't remember which, from the coast to the border with Idaho and Hell's Canyon, right? On average, roughly, I think it's like 400 something miles. Here's that in kilometers per mile per hour, not speed. I don't remember. I don't know how to do metric conversions. My brain does not participate in mathematics in the first place or anything numbers-wise. It revolts with extreme riotous intent, as if it thinks it's French. So, it's not going to happen. The only conversions I know off the top of my head via that stuck for some reason via from imperial to imperial to metric or metric to imperial is 60 because or sorry, I'm wrong. 100 because and thus 10. So basically just 10, 100, so on. Because I remember explicitly that 10 kilometers is equivalent to 6.2 miles, and therefore, in speed, like kilometers per an hour, 100 is equivalent to 62 miles an hour. Why it converts like that, I don't know. I don't want to know. Do not tell me. Because I will have an aneurysm. Anyway, there you go. So, we're going to add a new folder. Should I do that? No, because actually, hang on. It actually probably wouldn't go under this. It would work, but technically it needs to go under Cascade Ultra High Speed Rail, even though that's for itself. If I want to continue my categorization correctly, I really probably should have the HSR lines that have very minimal stops in betwixt, assigned to this folder. So, oh, that was intelligent. I did not mean to do, well, that's neat. Okay. Let us eat lettuce and begin. So, we're gonna have to do this normally, though. Which means this is gonna take some time. I almost feel like I'm kind of regretting myself right now. Like, I want to do this, but I also don't want to take the time for this. Because it's gonna take a while. Oh, yeah. Because we're gonna have to obviously do what we normally would do. Which is we're going to have to determine what is gonna be appropriate, like what is the right area that's realistically could go down to ground level or be in viaduct. There has to be tunnel, there would be tunnel, there whatever else. So yeah, but we're gonna start off with viaductus because of course we are. In fact, actually, let's do the reverse of what we normally do because it's actually easiest to do that this way when you're plotting out a big long line like this that has minimal stops because you have minimal stops. So it's pretty, you already know pretty much exactly each location that it's going to be within. So there's that. Okay. Florence is in a little bit of a spot in terms of layout, which is not great. However, we're going to actually do something that's going to give you a taste for another plan that's much further on down the line for a set of lines that I want to do. Is that actually a park? I don't think it is. I think it's just decorated, but it's pretty. I like that. That's pretty useful. Is that a Safeway or is that a Freddy's? It's probably one or the other. Anyway, I'm distracting myself. So what I'm gonna do is we're going to put a station here, and as you'll see here in a moment, we're going to do something quite nice. We're going to. Actually, this is a big, important station, so this has to be pretty long. A long day. Apparently I double-clicked. do not believe that happened, but sure. Okay. Bring it nice and sexist, aka straight. No, no, can't do that. The damn curvature of the earth is ruining my life. Okay. Anyway, let's do that. And, like, so. Cool, cool. I don't realistically know exactly how long I've been making my stations for these bigger lines. These bigger niggers. But yeah, how big, in other words, I've been making them. I'm not entirely sure. I don't recall. And I could check. I refuse. So this is an ice line, but we're not going to have it be super long. So what we're going to do is something like, well, I don't want it to be like as long as a metro though. I'm going to do something like this. Yeah, that is further down. I think. Maybe not. I don't know. Anyway. And then wabam. Ski. Because that way, hit that going for us. Actually, I did faggot something. What we want to do to encompass this corner. This corner. What? Let's get this like path in here and let's like have it proposed to kind of be built in. And then we're going to do this. This aligned with the other dot as close to it as possible. Again, I refuse to waste my time being OCD about it. Don't necessarily want it to be that long. That's just when she left me. Oh, what? Anyway, so you're a pencil dick. So we're gonna do that, and then I guess like that ish. I suppose. This probably should be further to the least. However, okay, cool. And that's because, as you probably can figure, we're going on an adventure. We're going to have another line that's going to go north-south. So there you go, Monty Frontiendos. Okay. Okay, it's going to be a set of coastal lines, intercity coastal lines. So, yay, hooray. Why am I still zoomed in? I don't need to be zoomed in. This is not useful to me, not even in the slightest. And theoretically, you could actually follow this river valley a bit. This triangle lake. What you can do is you can cut through this cut and come down in actually that way. And that way you could hit up Malone Sweet Field without having to go out of your way to do that and then come back down. Which I kind of like, because none of the other rail lines I have, as you can tell, have a station at Malone Sweet Field. They're just all in Eugene. So I might do that. Although then you'd be bypassing Veneta. Although, yeah, for an intercity line, that wouldn't really matter. Because the intercity line would take care of Veneta anyway. That would be the straightaway. Because you'd probably prefer to have the airport access via the high speed anyway. And then that way, because if anybody's in Florence and they want to actually take a commercial flight, they don't have to go all the way up to fucking Portland or all the way down to Grants Ass, or not Grants Ass, sorry. Medford. What? To enjoy themselves a nice, expensive flight to Reading or something. I don't know. But yeah. Anyway, so there's that. So I do believe I might just do that. I wasn't going to originally. I was just going to follow the normal highway path, roughly. Obviously, it'd be a little straighter than that because it's high-speed rail. You want to cut down the curves and turns and everything as much as possible so that way it can maintain speed. And it can also speed up a lot quicker and it can, yeah, it's just faster and more logical overall for the point of high-speed rail in the first place, especially ultra high speed. Because again, this utopian 60% of this is Shinkansen. It's a full proper Shinkansen bullet train situation. Not just high-speed rail and not just American high-speed rail, which basically means 90 miles an hour, 80 miles an hour, something like that. It's something stupidly low. But in reality, 200 plus miles an hour. So yeah, and if we can average 180, that's kind of the ballpark I'm looking for throughout the length of Linus Kleza. But, oh, by the way, the reason why I'm very tentative, if you couldn't tell, the main reason why we need to, and thankfully I did actually remember to turn on my microphone this time. I just realized, like, oh, fuck. I've been wasting my time this whole time. So the reason why quite a bit earlier in the early part of this video, I actually had mentioned the amount of time or the amount of time, the distance between the coast to the border with Idaho and Hell's Canyon, or basically along the Snake River. The reason why I mentioned that is because it's important in terms of how effective and useful high-speed rail is. Because high-speed rail, even bullet train, ultra high-speed rail lines, are only truly superior and also, at the very least, equal slash competitive to that of like flying if you have it within a certain bracket, so a certain distance. And if I recall correctly, I think it's between 100, or I think it's 90 miles and 300 miles, I think, is roughly that window where it's superior, actually. Like, it starts equal and competitive and then goes to superior, holds and plateaus for a while, and then slowly comes back down and meets back up with being at least competitive with things like flying and or just doing a really long, exceedingly long road trip. So that's why I mentioned that, because that's obviously just beyond a little bit. So you probably, theoretically, you would probably need to actually have this stop in Bend, and then you just have a separate branch line. Well, it's not really a branch line, it's still the same line, but it would operate, it would, in operations, it would be, or operationally, it would be considered separate, because it would only operate the trains between Bend and obviously Boise, because I would want to potentially stop in at least Ontario on the way to Boise, because that's the main place that you'd probably be stopping at. There's a chance that you pass through somewhere like Burns or Jordan Valley. Maybe you might put a stop there just so that those people in that area have an option. They don't have to drive all the way into Boise just to fucking be able to catch this train, because then at that point there's no point in using the train, right? So then that's why you give them a stop, so that everybody that's rural and that's in that area can come in and do that. And plus, it also gives it a little bit more tourism. There's good and bad to that, to that region of the Alvord, the edge of the Alvord, and the Owyhee Badlands and all that stuff. Anyway, so we're going to put stars in here at the airport. And again, my favorite thing to do with these kinds of things is to tunnel it so that it's as close to or underneath the terminal as possible. So that way you don't have to walk across the fucking parking lot or down the airport roads or whatever the fuck else to have to be able to do that. And plus, then that way you can just make a natural, gradual curve that's still very high speed. You can maintain speed, even though you should be obviously slowing down because you're coming to the station, but you get the idea. You can get up to speed and, as soon as possible, but you can also start braking a lot later so that you can come into the station safely. But basically that way you can also therefore cut underneath the flight paths very, very close or literally directly underneath. And I think that that's a highly intelligent decision. And in fact, actually, that would give them the ability to expand it if they so desired. PDX will probably never get to 100% capacity because, I mean, it's never going to be a true focus city, at the very least, let alone a hub. It certainly is never going to be truly that, because it's fucking Portland. I mean, it's just not going to happen. And it's already hemmed in on all sides by the river and by, obviously, floodplain and by development and freeways, so there's literally no expandability to PDX. So if they wanted to, or they ever need to decide they need to expand capacity, the only choice they have is either build a brand new airport or expand capacity at a different one that's relatively close by, or one at least that makes sense, that's not necessarily too far of a drive. And if you have Cascadia Ice and you have Cascadia HSR, then there's literally, in all these other, Oregon links, you have all these other intercity services and regional rail services, there's literally zero excuse at that point to think, oh, well, that means everyone has to drive the 2 hours it takes to get from the Portland Metro to Eugene. In this case, Malone Sweet Field. But obviously not necessarily. If you have this in place, which is how you have to see the world at this point, is that these get implemented, the answer is actually obvious. You just take the fucking trains. And you can take whichever ones you want to. instead of having to drive. And they would be way quicker and way safer and way more efficient in every possible way, not just environmentally, but also for yourself and your budget and everything else to whip yourself down to Malone Sweet Field. Again, if capacity issues happen at PDX, then like, we gotta expand, but we can't. So where's our fallback airport? Our overflow airport that's now going to kind of take over for the extra flights and demand that we can no longer serve. Malone Sweet Field is about the only logical option for that. It would be kind of cool if Hillsboro HIO would be able to take it over. It's right over there. But that's just more the slight av geek in me that would love to be able to just sit there and spot planes or like commercial planes, or like as I'm driving by the airport, I can literally just see and feel everything about through my like sunroof on my fucking custom sunroof that some previous owner got on my Volvo 240 wagon, and just like look up through it as the plane flies over my head at a red light. It would be cool. You get off at the Max station there at the airport slash really it's the fairgrounds, and yeah, it would be so cool. But then like it's not really practical, and it's not a practical airport at all for commercial flights unless it's like charter, tiny boutique charter airlines. Then HIO I think would work. The problem is there's just way too much civilian air traffic that goes through there, and way too much private jets traffic for executives for all these fucking companies, and now obviously sports teams. I'm sure occasionally. So it's tough because this is just not there, and they don't really have the ability to truly expand. They'd have to have a disjointed airport at that point if they expanded, and then Evergreen would have to be sliced in half or severed to be, or put onto a tunnel underneath the runway because, or the tarmac and the connections between because reasons. And then you'd be over here, and then say this was HIO, you'd have to cross Evergreen, which would be about here, and then like even the planes would have to do that to get all the way over here, and so then your taxiing would be a lot longer and everything. It just doesn't work. Which is why Malone Sweet Field is really the only other option that we even have that's close by. I mean, technically, now that I think about it, Salem does have McNary Field. I think it's McNary Field, isn't it? In Salem. It's Albany. There, actually. That was Corvallis. McNary Field, which does... They did resume commercial airline flights in like I think the end of 2022 or the end of 2023. Which, as far as I understand, is still happening. It's mainly Avelo, and I think there might be one other one that's like it, that operates out of here now on these flights. Because they have the two runways and their capacity, they work, except this was really probably the only one that they can actually use. But yeah. And as you can see, they're also hemmed in on all sides. So they can't actually expand realistically either. So, yeah. And I think there's a prison over here, so you can't... It's not like they could just annex the land over here, have a weird long tarmac connection over here, and then like build out into this area between it and like Jefferson City and shit, and Almsville. Actually, I think that's Almsville. But anyway, either that or that's Almsville. But then there's also Sublimity. I don't remember where the fuck Sublimity is in comparison. There's Lions, which is over here. Yeah, anyway. There you go. So that's why, again, Malone Sweet Field is really the only option that PDX is ever, and the Port of Portland, therefore, is ever going to have if they ever have an overflow issue and demand issue that they need to meet. But obviously, this is their only option. So, all the more reason why, especially if you had these kinds of things here, again, it would perfectly allow people to not have to take 2 hours out of their day to drive all the way down there, and the cost that takes, the inconvenience it is. They would have to be very convenient because it would be a relatively affordable price to just zip down there on a much safer, much faster, much more efficient and reliable form of transportation on a bullet train. If they take Cascadia Ice down there, which they technically can't, they'd have to take a different line, which would eventually be obviously the well, actually this line that we're making right now from Eugene proper, downtown Eugene. They just have to hop it one line, boop, over here. And obviously LTD, Lane County, I think it's literally Lane Transit District, just literally all it stands for. But they would, no doubt, they probably have EMX. There you go. And they'd have probably implement a line that would go here too, especially if it expanded, including commercial service. And then you have a train station here. That way people could just, they don't even have to necessarily hop for and use it for like the short hop trip. Like, boop, boop. They can just be there. So yes, this does add a extra stop that is not in downtown Eugene. In fact, you could actually incentivize LTD and the state, therefore, to help fund it in private entities like U of O and stuff, to be able to implement a proper EMX service with like full bus lane and priority signals and everything else, right? And high frequency to and from the terminal at the airport. If you only had this rail stop at Malone Sweet Field to serve both of these. And then that way the bus could then take you to the other rail line stops here. And then that way you could then hop from, you could even take an EMX, which already pre-exists, through Springfield here, say middle of Springfield, go all the way west, transfer to the next one that goes up to Mullen Sweet Field, and then you cap on your train, and you can get to Boise if that's what you want to do, or to Bend that way. And it would still probably be quicker than driving, by the way. Even if though they had to take the bus or drive to Malone Sweet Field, or park and ride at the airport, and they'd have to do that to catch this train, that would still, I guarantee, with all that extra time, it would still probably be faster overall to get to Bend from here than it would be to not do this route. One of the reasons why, though, I did kind of want to take the Salem route, if I recall correctly, is because it would allow me very easily to access Bend without the issues of, well, you know, Mount Bachelor and the Three Sisters and Broken Top right here. Which, by the way, Broken Top is the most underrated mountain in the entire fucking state. It's fucking majestic, especially when you're on Bachelor and you're looking at it. It's, yeah, sure, the Three Sisters are there and they're pretty and all that shit, and the husband or whatever the fuck it's called. However, Broken Top's still the prettiest and the best one of them all, in my personal fucking opinion. And anyone else that disagrees is just wrong. But anyway, said facts aside, yeah. So it's a little bit of a pain in the ass, because you'd also be going through a protected wilderness area, and they probably would not allow for that at all. It's a highly active volcanically and geologically, so that's probably not a great idea. So then you'd have to go way north anyway, or you'd have to try to go way south and cut through. But then you're still in the Sky Lakes wilderness at that point, and that's probably still not going to work well. So actually, doing this route doesn't exactly work that well. Admittedly, it still can be done, absolutely. It would still be doable, it would still be functional. In fact, you could take this route. This is probably the better route to take, is actually go through here and then follow the, is this one of the forks of the Willamette? I can't remember. I know this is the Roe River. This is the Mohawk up here. This is the Mackenzie River. So yeah, this is the Willamette River. I think, right? Isn't this Mackenzie? I know that's the Mohawk. Wasn't the yeah, this is the Mackenzie. Yeah. This is the Willamette. The Willamette. So you have to take the Willamette River all the way down through its corridor, and then you would basically divert through this cut right here, which is a nice little valley and a little cut through the mountains. And then them ski doodles, this thing is Cultus Lake. I know that's Waldo Lake. So yeah, I think this is Cultus Lake, and that's Odell. You go up through here. See, this is why it takes so long. It takes hours usually to come up with even these lines, which are actually overall easier than the ice lines and stuff, because I mean you really have to consider it being somewhat realistic as well. I think this is Diamond Peak. Well, that can't be Diamond Peak. That is Diamond Lake, though. I think it has to be, right? Because you got the highway here. Yeah, this is Diamond Lake. I don't remember Diamond Lake being that big. I really fucking don't, dude. I remember it being, like, oriented like this. But that's definitely Diamond Lake, and that's definitely Diamond Peak. So I am very confuzzled. But anyway. Fucking fuck! Yeah, that's blatantly it. Yeah, that's Diamond Lake. Although this is oriented correctly to be Diamond Lake, but I'm confident this is Diamond Lake. So I'm lost. Anyway, Odell. Cultus. Or Cutlass or something like that. I think it's Cultus, though. And then, yeah, Waldo. Crane Prairie. Wickup. I swear this one also starts with a C, but I don't remember what the fuck it's called right now. Anyway, questions absolutely no one fucking asked for the answers to. But yeah. So yeah, I mean, you have that option too, and it would be kind of cool to be able to hit up Sun River, which this is Lapine, I think. I don't think this is Sun River, is it? No, that's Sun River. Although I thought this was Sun River, but I didn't think Lapine and Sun River were that close. I think they border each other now, or literally they basically could drive from one to the other, or walk from one to the other. Just about, not quite. Yeah, so I guess this has to be Lapine, and then obviously this is Sun River up here, I think. Then right, or is this Sun River? No, because that's Bend. So yeah, Sun Rivera is in fact right here. So that's Sun River Airport. So this is Sun River, and then which changed so much. It's developed so fucking much from when I was a kid. It's fucking insane. And I'm kind of sad about it actually. I liked it way better when I was a kid. I haven't been there since, but I just can see how different it is. But yes, so that should be the fine. I mean, this is obviously development, which is interesting. But yeah. Chimult is somewhere down here, so is Chiloquin. Actually, Chimult is up here. Chiloquin's down there. Yeah, but anyway, it'd be cool to hit up Lapine, and it'd be cool to hit up Sun River. This is such a pain in the ass. So yeah, I mean, like, but because you'd be hitting Bend up no matter what, then you'd still be, yeah, and then another one of the ones I have is the Highway 97, US 97 line, which is I want to literally have a high-speed rail line and or at least, very least, a regional slash ice line that goes from either the Dalles or Hood River, probably Hood River, because it's the only geographic or geologically, really, topographically capable thing we could really realistically do in any kind of a ice even form, is go from Hood River here down, and then eventually head up Madras and Redmond, and then obviously Bend. Then you would obviously hit up Sun River and Lapine, and then eventually you either stop at Chiloquin or wherever else, or you could just skip all the way to Altamont, and then Altamont slash Klamath Falls, and then you could stop it there, at least for the in-state US 97 line, because I don't even think there's really much south of Klamath Falls in terms of developments anyway in California or Nevada, because it's pretty much where the border is in the first place. So there's really not. I mean, there's this here, but I mean, you're going around Shasta at that point, so realistically, that doesn't make that much sense to do. I feel like, I mean, you could still do it. You hit up Shasta and Shasta Lake and stuff, Redding, and then just tie it into California high-speed rail slash yeah, what would you call it? I guess West Coast high-speed rail. I don't know exactly what you call a complete system, but yeah. So as a result, that's not really viable, I feel like. So you literally, in fact, it's still quite a distance to Reading even, which is the only other significant area. So realistically, actually, yeah, it would literally just be one line in state that you'd be running, which is quite interesting. But that would take care of the Lapine Sun River debacle. Because it would probably just be an ice line at max. And then, because I don't think it could necessarily support a true HSR. There probably wouldn't be just enough demand on it for that. But nice, I could still see it having enough demand. So again, like, that would take care of that issue. So then just simply hitting up Bend and keeping it as straight as possible to our goal of Boise is important. I know it should be possible, it should be doable, but I mean, like, even now it's daunting on me that much more of how much of this fucking badlands we actually have that we'd have to somehow circumvent and cut through or effectively tunnel through. And this is actually potentially a lot more difficult than I was believing it to be. And look at all the scab land, it's incredible. Um, to Bend, you almost want to take this route, or again, you could go north, follow the HSR line, but actually maybe even break off, go past Prineville, and then cut through here, like the actual highways do. But you're still going way out of the way, you know? And of course, here's your, I think this is Burns, I think. It's either Rome or Burns. I'm pretty sure that's Burns. Uh Malheur Lake is in here. I think I don't remember if this is all considered Malheur or not. But basically you had to go through here, past the lake and the refuge. And you pretty much just have to follow the highway, which is still very windy because there's just a lot of scabland everywhere, which is brutal because that means that it's not as like logical and straightforward as I thought it could be, even in a tunneling situation, which sucks. It really sucks. And we don't really have any true bridges anywhere along Hell's Canyon because, again, it's one of the world's deepest canyons, and it's very important environmentally too, to try to protect what is left of it. So it's just like you'd almost have to have a line that only just follows 84. It's kind of what you have to do, is what it feels like. It looks like. Uh, it's the most straightforward route, which would be funny. It would be kind of fun. Like one of my favorite things about that kind of thing is that you would literally, as people drive, because they're very snobbish about that in the U.S. about, oh, I'm gonna continue to drive. They literally get to sit there and watch the public-private transit zip by them. Even though everyone speeds in Oregon on the freeways, on the interstates, especially in the rural areas like these, in the open spaces, they rip. Like, even if, and I can imagine what that's like on 84. Because if it's like that on I-5, south of Wilsonville, and even more so, especially south of Salem, um, I mean, people are, even the trucks, even if they're an oversized load, average like 78 to 82 miles an hour, and everyone that isn't driving a truck that's just a normal vehicle, it drives like an average of 85, 88 miles an hour, which is way above the speed limit, but even the police do that. And it's just like, fuck's sake, like everyone's fucking driving like they think they're in NASCAR or something, or some race circuit, you know, and it's just like, goddamn. So I can't imagine what that's like on 84, especially in the summer. The people might be averaging damn near 100, actually, which I don't think I would ever want to participate in that, especially considering I don't have AC in my damn car, and it gets hot quick. It also fogs up really fast and cooler in moisture weather, so like I'd have to have my windows open no matter what, and ripping 100 miles an hour in a 3,000-pound empty curb weight brand new metal fucking brick. I think I'm okay. I already have to fucking white knuckle my ass just going anywhere on I-5, especially again south of Wilsonville or Salem, because of how fucking fast everyone has to go. I have to go somewhat close to their speed at least, because otherwise I'm now a hazard for myself and everyone else. I fucking hate how people drive, man. The point is, even if people are averaging 90 miles an hour driving, way above the fucking max state speed limit, which is 65 in Oregon, like you're on a bullet train following the freeway, which already has very softened curves most of the time everywhere they can. That thing's gonna blister by you. You're gonna sit there watching a full train of like 6-car multiple unit Shinkansen train just by you a billion miles an hour, it feels like, and you're like, I'm going 100. Yeah, that's the beauty of it. So fuck you. Like, you made the wrong decision, buddy. Because you still get all, in fact, you get better views because it's on viaduct in this world. So like, you get all the best views that you possibly muster on a route like that, and get the peak efficiency and speed zipping between places like Portland to Boise, dude, or Kennewick. or Spokane. Like it's beautiful. A sweet symphony of perfection. So I guess in order to hit up Boise, I guess it unfortunately probably does have to start in Portland. Which really sucks. I didn't want to have to do that. I wanted to keep that as like an ice line and or an HSR that would go up into the Tri-Cities area and then obviously uh eventually follow its way up through Walla Walla and then make its way to Spokane and probably even up into Kettle Falls and stuff. And then you'd have your another, at least to Spokane, because then you probably have another line that we can go through here, go through Moses Lake maybe, or through Kettle Falls and Wenatchee and stuff like that, and then end up, in fact, maybe it only does that because then you'd have your line that would do this, you know. You'd probably have another line that would, again, go from like Tacoma or Seattle or Olympia and then through Yakima, Tri-Cities, Walla Walla, and then you might even go to like Pullman and stuff since it's the college there, Washington State, Lewiston, Clarkston, all that, and then follow it up, and then boom, head up the station that way. And obviously you have your cuts through here too. You have various different valleys you could follow that would allow you to go through the mountains and the Cascades here, and eventually go through the various resort cities. In fact, allowing access to that directly, and then eventually ending up in, you know, Wenatchee or Kettle Falls or wherever, Moses Lake, and then Bend. That could be the one that goes all the way through like Post Falls or whatever the fuck it is over on the far east in the Panhandle. And in fact, actually, it'd be kind of interesting to have it then have another line that would continue from there and then connect you up into Montana here. Yeah, that would be really interesting and fun. Where the fuck is Pendorile, actually? Is this Pendorile? This might be Pendorile. I don't remember that being Pendorile, but actually that might be Pendorile. Although there's a city on it. I don't remember there ever being a city on Pendorile. I know that ain't Pendorile. In fact, actually, I know exactly what that is. I think it's Flathead Lake or whatever the fuck it's called. Outside of, is it Helena or Missoula? I can't remember which. Yeah. I swear I vaguely remembered Pendorile actually partially being in Canada. So the border should be about here-ish, I think, right? Yeah, because I think I remember this nub here and this being there. So it's like, it's either here or it's like here. I think it's here. I think this is roughly where the border with Canada is. Yeah! Look at that! I actually fucking nailed it! I'm how many fucking miles out from the fucking surface of the earth, and I'm like, yeah, no, I remember. You know why I remember that? Fucking nub. Oh my god. That is so hilariously stupid. I love that. Literally, it's a fucking nub from damming of the Columbia. That was really what that told me that was this nub. That was pretty much it. That is so funny. But I also remember Pendorile being pretty big, so oh, so big. I think this is Pendorile then, huh? I also know it's one of the deepest lakes, artificial or not. It's artificial, obviously. Pendorile is. I know it's one of the deepest lakes in North America, actually, because it's like I think it's literally a little over 2,000 feet deep. Like it's fucking stupid deep, to where the U.S. military has used it for a long time now to do military exercises via submarines and testing new submarines that they build. So yeah, and I mean this is where Coeur d'Alene and everything is. Coeur d'Alene is actually about here. So actually, yeah, the Falls place, Post Falls, I think is here. I think this is Coeur d'Alene, right? Or is it the other way around? I'm pretty sure this is Coeur d'Alene and this is Post Falls, but yeah, so this is called Lake Coeur d'Alene, which isn't obviously technically a real lake because it's actually a reservoir. But yeah, so I'm pretty sure then that this has to be Pendorile because I also know it's bigger than that, and I know it's close, and that's obviously within the U.S. borders. And I think it partially crosses into Montana. So I think this has to be Penderal then. I didn't quite remember it having that orientation. That's so funny to me though, that I'm like getting stuck on what, like, is that really Penderal? Meanwhile, I'm like confidently like, yep, I remember that nub. This is literally where the border is with Canada. Goes left. Bonk. Yup. What I can't even begin to describe or explain how the fuck my stupid brain works. That's so funny. It's so stupid. I love it. Um this has turned into a big distraction piece. This is a fucking psyop, and I'm now able to tell you that because see, I've indoctrinated you well enough now that you actually you no longer you're numb to it. You don't care. You actually think it's kind of funny. Like, oh, I knew that. Yeah. What's the message? No. But yeah. So at least we know that there's guaranteed to be uh two line station in Florence. And I know I'm definitely gonna have to at least have one major intercity slash regional rail line hit up Malone Sweetfield. Um, and also if you expand Malone Sweetfield more, can you tell I'm a attention deficit? I'm just bouncing all over the place. Uh, if you have it as a big enough station, or leave enough room, especially if you're tunneling under, right? You build intentionally for a second level. You can actually have, or at the very least, a connection to maybe the top level. You could literally have it built to where it could encourage a transit center to form inside of Malone Sweetfield so that it becomes more of a hub. And then on top of that, what that would also allow for is, as much as I hate to say it, a light rail line. But like something that's actually properly close to a real true light rail line. So not anything close to max, but like a shorter, more express, proper complement to the BRT line that would also run. Probably similar, close by corridor, up and through with more stops, obviously, a little less express, up into Mullen Sweetfield as well. And you obviously you'd want multiple lines. You'd at least want, like, the most logical route if you did a light rail-ish line, a streetcar-like line, is you have it go from downtown. In fact, you could literally have it go from downtown Springfield even, cross the river, go into downtown Eugene, if not starting there, then that's how you could do it. And then you would go and follow the highway and the rail line as far as you can out up to this highway, the state route, and then make your way down the airport road directly to the terminal at Malone Sweetfield and back. And then the other one, you'd have your obviously at least one, if not two, important imperative EMX, so BRT lines for the other parts of the city and corridors to connect up, especially in the main part of the city of Eugene, so south of the river, up through and into the airport as well. And then you would also have one that would naturally go from at least here, if not like Lyons or Mill City. Probably, I mean, that just wouldn't make sense for an EMX. So like you could literally go from the far east stretch of Springfield and all of that, and you go through here, follow it all the way up to, downtown where it connects with whatever other line you have going this way. And then it would go up and it would basically follow you and allow you to go up here and then connect into this highway segment, the spur route, basically, and then connect through and into these neighborhoods, connect them up, and then basically have the line eventually follow it all the way through to pretty much the exact same spot, actually, so that you can then take the road through and bam. Now, all portions have at least 3 major rapid transit lines that are very frequent, reliable, and consistent that will get you from any part of this area through and directly to Malone Sweetfield, where you can connect with the 1 or 2, who knows how many we end up with, rail lines, regional and intercity rail lines that head up the airport. So you still have plenty of optionality, because as you probably, if you followed along with this project at all, you'd understand that that's a really big series. So I guess it's more like a planning strategy meeting slash video. And again, especially if I don't edit this much, it'll allow you to directly understand and see exactly how my wheels turn in my head and how I come to decide where these lines are going to be, and even their curves, and like where I turn them and why I have them do what I have them doing and everything else. Because yeah, it's a hell of a process, and this is pretty much what I go through on my own without recording normally when I'm making lines, especially these bigger, longer lines that are called more simple yet simultaneously somehow more contradictorily, I don't know how you say that word, complex. But yeah, so potentially you still could have it again. You still could have the line go through here again. It's more about studying and knowing the land that you're looking at and its topography and stuff and how well it could work. Like you could go follow north, not go super far north, like up here through that corridor that I talked about before, but you could actually follow this one because it's a little bit more straightforward, although there is elevation plane here. And you want to try to avoid hitting up these lava fields and the pumice fields here, because that's a natural wonder. So I guess you'd still have to cut north and then back into this corridor again, but then you'd have to cut through the Sky Lakes. But there's gotta be, there has to be a safe route somehow through here. So likely it would still be this route. It would still be, you go hit up downtown Eugene, and then you continue south, and then you'd follow the highway through here, along these reservoirs, until this cut here, right before this reservoir. You'd follow this one, and this road, this highway through here, and you would effectively have to probably follow the north side of this butte, this ridge, cut through here, and then you'd still probably have to cut through either here or go right up through here, or somewhere in that vicinity around Wickup, and then cut your way in, and then connect up either here or just connect up, stay between these rivers, these branches, and then eventually come up through here. And you could either stay following on the west side, or you could cut east, but probably because of the lava, you had to stay west before you could cut east safely again. But I don't know, it's kind of hard to say. I guess there is a road here, so you could literally follow it west and then just cut naturally through here, follow these roads through until you get to the US 97, and then curve slowly and naturally to follow that and meet back up with it like right here. That's a really perfect natural curve, actually. Go past, and then you'd be sharing the track with the actual lines, that 97 line, and it would just go up here, bypass anything in Sun River, and then hit up downtown Bend, obviously somewhere in Central Bend. And you'd probably want to play some bias to its development patterns and how they're expanding, because they're, as usual for an American city, unfortunately, they keep fucking sprawling. Instead of building up, Bend is just like, let's keep going out into oblivion. And it's just very fucking annoying. You can tell these mansions are pretty much relatively new. In fact, this is how new they are. Like, they still have disturbed ground. They still have construction dirt there. And this one doesn't even have a fucking driveway yet. You notice that? No driveway yet. Apparently we're going to have 2 driveways. Good lord. Good lord. These are McMansions and mansions. This is probably actually a true McMansion. It's at least 2 stories, you can tell. Although it's borderline. Because, like, things that are, like, to me, 5,000 square feet plus to about 8,000 are McMansions, and then anything above 8,000 is a true mansion. Especially if it's 10,000 plus, actually, is a true major mansion to me. Like, this place, huge. Gonna have a lot of stuff. This is a more traditional ranchy build. This is a more traditional, semi-modern, suburban house build style. And then this one, you can tell they're trying to go for super modern build, which I think is the ugliest, but yeah, you can tell that, like, these are new. So, like, all this shit is actually pretty fucking new, too, then. That's just disgusting. Like, ugh, it's frustrating. So, like, they're even sprawling for the rich fucks to move in. Like, they're like, let's build this stuff for the richest of the rich. Yay! Ugh. So stupid. So dumb. Like, yes, downtown, technically, they're getting a little bit better. get a little closer to getting it right in terms of good, smart, modern urbanism. I have no idea what this is new to me. All this is new to me. That is very interesting to look at. I hope these will turn into a proper downtown walkable urban development with good mixed use. Universal mixed use. Nothing but mixed use in here, actually. I think that's the only correct option, especially with, again, how it's going to very clearly, like the rest of the stuff is always, in Bend, is always going to be centered around, clearly have it heavily focused and centered around the parkland and the greenways around the park, around the river, the shoots, and also the fucking amphitheater, which they have, believe it or not, this is a full service amphitheater with the biggest stars, the biggest bands, everything, biggest comedians. They all actually travel to this amphitheater. As much as you might not think it would be, this holds a lot. Amphitheaters, when you see these kind of things, you think, they can't hold very much. They hold a lot. Like, you think, like, even with the yard, like, they probably only hold, like, what? Like, maybe in a stretch, this holds, like, 5,000 people. This thing, I think, holds 17,000. It's, like, 14 to 17,000 people, with the yard included. It's a lot of people can fit inside of this tiny space. You would not believe how well that works. It's like the Ridgefield Amphitheater up here, the closest one that we have. That is the Portland's area's one. Unfortunately, it takes forever to get to because of the fucking I-5 gridlock. But yeah, in fact, you might as well literally be going to this amphitheater because it would take you exactly as much time, roughly, sometimes in the summer, to get to this amphitheater, to drive there, that it does to drive a near straight shot fucking 56 miles to the Ridgefield Amphitheater. You know, you live around the west side, and where are we? You live around the west side, say in this area, around the 185th corridor, right? So it's a straight shot to 26, so Sunset Highway, you follow it through, 405, cross the bridge, I-5, rest of the way, directly up to the Ridgefield Amphitheater. It can take you upwards of 3+ hours, start to finish, that straight shot, 56 miles, that's it. On a freeway, almost entirely way, to get there. So you might as well just go to fucking Bend. Say, fuck it, let's go to Bend. Let's go to fucking Medford. Because it'll take about as long. She takes about 4 hours to get to Medford. But still, it's fucking insane. Oh yeah, by the way, 4 hours to get to Medford, which is here. This is Ashland. This is Medford. We're up here. For you Europeans, especially. Trust me, there's a damn good reason why a lot of people don't own passports in this country and never will, and why they do not travel outside of the US, sometimes outside of their own state, because it's a lot of fucking land in your own backyard. That's your own home. There's not really a reason to go elsewhere. Plus, it's stupidly expensive. Like, it's a lot. Like I said, I mean, it's like, I think 400 to 500 miles from Boise, actually, sorry, from the border with Idaho, which is right here, to the coast on average. I think it's like somewhere around 420 to like 480 miles, depending on which exact point you're talking about going to the border. It's fucking ridiculous how brutally big things are here. Oh. So anyway, I guess at this point, this means I'm just going to have to work on plotting more stuff out on my own. Or maybe in the future on a live stream or something. You can let me know in the comments if you want to see something like that. I doubt you would. But if you do, let me know, and I will consider actually doing that. Because I think it could be kind of fun-ish. Even as tedious as these processes tend to be, I think it would be a lot of fun to be able to do that and show you guys even more intricately my process of kind of how I do these things. But I think what we've determined is that we could still do a route through here, and I might still commit to that. Although it would probably be a lot more of a stretch, because all the wilderness areas, the protected areas, and the volcanic system and everything else than it would be to actually just do this route, in fact, in reality, which is going from probably, well, it might just be, honestly, I might just say, fuck it, instead of going all the way from Newport in Toledo to Salem, I might just start in Salem for simplification's sake and just go Salem down through Sweet Home, or actually up through here, possibly. I'm not sure. Follow the highway. Either way, follow it through. It's probably really going to have to be here because I think this is clearly the safest route. And then the easiest route to do a cut through. In fact, it cuts through south of Jefferson, so that probably makes a lot of sense because of the wilderness area there. And then you cut through here and effectively hit up Bend just directly that way. I think it would make a lot of sense. I'm pretty sure this is Sisters, right? Yeah. This is Black Butte. So Camp Sherman should be right here, actually. Yeah. Camp Sherman, this is Sisters, Fisters, what? Obviously, Redmond. This is Terrebonne because I'm pretty fucking... this is Primeville. Is it Terrebonne? I think it is. I'm pretty sure this is Terrebonne because I'm pretty sure it's Terrebonne here. And then... Is Smith Rock here? I can't remember. I feel like it was, but it might not be because I'm also remembering Madras was actually how you got to Smith Rock. Madras. Good question. I don't actually know. Yeah, this is Redmond. So there's that. Seeing this, I'm actually kind of confused. There's a decent sized airport here. What? I don't remember there ever being an airport there. Lake Billy Chinook. I'm puzzled. I'm puzzled. But no, that's got to be Madras. I think that's Madras, yeah. Yeah, no, it is. That's Madras. All right, then. There's Madras. Yeah, so, interesting. I would like to also connect up Prineville to a network. But... there was only a way to easily get through here. And then cut through here to be able to follow these valleys, you know? I think that would be really fucking helpful because it would get us to Ontario easiest, actually. That would be the most straightforward, non-circumnavigational route, actually, is to go that way. It's still a lot of scabland, badland, but that's actually doable. In fact, yeah, this is still doable, too. So it's probably a pretty decent turn slowdown, though, but it could work. The thing is, I think you're going through the fossil beds areas, which isn't great. I think at least you are. Because I think this is actually John Day, in fact, right here, I think. So that's pretty exciting. But yeah, and then you can cut through this river valley. Whee! And then, yeah. And then you could either do that and then do this, or you could do this. In fact, you could tunnel through these two, the shortest part of those two ridges if you wanted to, so you could curve up this way, follow the ridge line here, naturally have your curve through here, cut through here, boom. Or, more realistically, you're probably just going to follow the valley through this, womp, and then follow the sneck, and sneck your way into Ontario here, and because this is Payette. But Ontario, and then I swear this is Ontario, I'm pretty sure. And then yeah, because it's 84. And then you follow 84 down and into the Boise, Nampa, sorry, area. Should be quite fun. But yeah, actually looking here is helping me kind of determine that I think logistically, like that even works. Interesting. Yeah, you know, that really works. And that would get me through Bend. So actually, I think there is a path here. It just takes a little bit more looking in like fishing detail close. Yeah, and I think that's literally what I suggested too. Yeah, it is. So that does work. I do like that. Maybe there's hope after all. Hmm. It's a little late for that, being 11 hours. Jesus Christ, God help no. Over an hour and 11 minutes in, we finally realized maybe there is a possibility. Either way, I'm gonna actually leave this here. So yeah, this is in the end accidentally kind of just more a look into the process of how my wheels turn in my head to come up with these different routes, what it takes, how long it takes, and like how difficult it can be to actually determine a logical, doable route, whatever you want to call it, for these kinds of lines in this project. So remember, this is just like a fraction. At best, in the shortest periods of time, it's like a third. For these kind of lines, though, it actually is usually maybe 1/11th or less. So basically 10% of how long and tedious and tough it is to actually do what I've been doing for the last just over a year with the Cascadia Transit Expansion Project. So, yeah. I think this is actually a very useful video that no one will fucking watch, at least not very far through, because boring, I don't want to see that. I want instant gratification, because this is the modern day in the internet. I have no attention span and no tolerance for anything except for instant gratification entertainment. Unsubscribed, blocked, and fucking reported, and tempted to have it banned. How dare you not give me what I demand? Welcome to the internet. Anyway, there you go. Like I said, let me know if you guys would like to see a full live stream of this kind of process in the future at some point. Here on, obviously, the channel. If you do, I really need to obviously know by you dropping that comment down below. And also, letting me know your thoughts on this process, and maybe even, I don't know, if you have any kind of experience with this kind of stuff, some suggestions of how to streamline it better so that it's a little more efficient and a little quicker to be able to determine and find these kinds of things, like these routes that I only just found here at the end, unfortunately. Because it's a hell of a process. So if you have any suggestions on how to improve the process I have, let me know in the comments below. And also, let me know your thoughts on what routes we should make, especially in this much broader interstate context, or cross-state context, in Oregon, in Washington, and yeah, actually even in BC. Although it's kind of topographically brutalist, if I'm honest. But I would like to be able to have a line that connects from Vancouver to Kelowna, yes, and Kamloops. And actually, it would be cool to have a north-south route that would go Kamloops, Kelowna, and then down through like Kettle Falls, and eventually maybe even just following this corridor instead and going down the Columbia properly, so that that way it can hit up Wenatchee and all that good stuff, and then eventually end up going down into Yakima, or just the Tri-Cities. I do not know. But either way, that is a fun possible route too, because then that way, if you keep continuing it, you can actually even connect down through the Tri-Cities, like I said, and then Umatilla, Hermiston, and then almost said Pennsylvania! Jesus Christ! And then so you're calling Pendleton, Pennsylvania is fucking insane. And then it could even stop there because obviously, you probably guessed it by now, there's definitely going to be a route that's going to go Boise, up through here, up along this neck, and eventually up through like Baker City and La Grande, and then eventually up through Pendleton, here, hit up the south end of Umatilla, Hermiston, and then it would of course continue along the Columbia River from there, and it would obviously go along it and hitch up to Portland. I was just want to slogan, yes. But yeah. So it doesn't matter which of the three it is. Be sure to let me know. And obviously, yes, at some point, in the future, it's the furthest possible in the future in a field, is we're going to do our own, basically, California high-speed rail, but it's going to be an expanded network. At least I shouldn't say network, a expanded line, because the goal is going to eventually get down at least to Chula Vista, if not potentially down to the those angles though. San Bernardino, San Diego Metroplex, Chula Vista at the very least, because I don't want to just stop in. I mean, it makes sense to only stop in San Diego because of the true ultra high speed rail Shinkansen bullet train style line, but I would like to have a stop in Chula Vista because I feel like it's very important to have Chula Vista hooked up, because it's always fucking going under the radar and people always forget about it existing because they just think, oh, this is all San Diego. No, Chula Vista's all this down here. So fuck yourself. But yes, and in fact, actually, I think oh god, there is technically another town down here. I think it's actually literally this. I think it's, I want to say El Centro. Is it El Centro? I can't remember if it's El Centro or not. But I also want to say it's like something Imperial. But I'm pretty sure it's El Centro, because I know Imperial is not actually out here. I don't think, at least. I'm pretty sure it's actually in the Palm Springs Valley. Is what I want to call it, Salton Sea Valley or whatever. Mexicali. Yes, yes. But yes. And then potentially, if I decide to, I might actually connect that line down into Tijuana, because I think it makes sense to be able to do that. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of people that are going to say, it's not realistic, there's border tensions and fucking illegal immigration and drugs and I don't care, because outside of that, it is realistic. Outside of basically sociopolitics, it is very realistic. To where even with the sociopolitics of it and the hellaciousness of how especially the U.S. government's going to be a fucking dystopic, draconian prick about it, I still think there's going to be a fuckload of people that are going to actually use it. And obviously the mass majority is going to be legally. Go figure. So I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear your voice. I still think I might do it. So that is the main reason why I'm not currently necessarily saying I would go down to Tijuana, but I still think that Tijuana needs to be hooked the fuck up. So, yeah, and then it would be truly international, because all three countries would be connected, because it would be Tijuana, and you could literally take each segment of the what would become effectively the West Coast spinal line, if you will. West Coast spinal speed line. Laser beams! And then literally you could go from Tijuana to Vancouver, or Vancouver to the Couve to Tijuana, which would be pretty fucking snazzy if you ask me. But anyway, but at least to San Diego / Chula Vista, if not actually to Tijuana as well. But again, that's the furthest one afield by far. And knowing me much further in the future, once we complete all these other more truly regional lines, as in like continental regional lines, from BC down through Ashland area basically, and then connect down like through Reading at least, if not to Sacktown, and then obviously having a line that's inevitably going to go to Boise, and then that one having a segment that's going to go down to SLC, and then Mormandia, Wasatch, fucking Outlandia to the Utes. And then, yeah, one that's obviously going to go up through the curve through here, and there's probably one through there, so that way it's still technically part of this network. You'd have one that goes through here, probably, like I said, follow through to Boise as well. So then all this would be connected like this, but also like this, and maybe like this, and help. And then you'd have that connection, and then you probably have another one that does this. Like I said, maybe it goes up through here, or goes up through here, and then like this. And maybe there's one that follows all the way back through and kind of loops around. And maybe there's one here. There's one up here. Possibilities, okay? You might even hook up McDermott for shits and giggles. That would be fucking fun as hell. I think that'd be hilarious, actually. Is intentionally seeking to connect McDermott. I'm so zoomed out. This is fucking repulsive. I'm lost and confused. Where is McDoimit? McDoimit. Is this McDoimit down here? I feel like there's something here, but there is not. But I know it's not in a mountainous area, actually. Where is McDoimit? Where is McDoimit? I do not know. Where is the derm of Mick? The dermis of Mickett. Mickett my snicket. See, this is the Boise area. Or no, sorry, that's the Boise area. That's Pocatello and all that. Or Twin Falls? Twin Falls. Pocatello's this one. Over here. I think. I'm pretty sure Pocatello's over here. I think this is Twin Falls. Or maybe this is Twin Falls and that's Pocatello? I don't fucking remember. Anyway, I'm dyslexic. Listen, fuck you. Obviously, this is the Salt Lake, or what used to be the Salt Lake. Incredibly depressing, because that's all that's left somehow. In fact, it's actually probably less than that now. And, welcome to our very own RLC. Pyramid Lake is Reno and Sporks, and then that means that McDoimit should be ish over in this-ish. It should be roughly in this vicinity, I feel like. Which I think... Was I over here? I think it was originally over here, actually. When I first said this, like, I think this is McDoimit. And then I failed miserably and I went and killed myself. No. Did I accidentally kind of nail it again? I know it's so tiny, though. But there should be a there should be a U.S. highway that goes through McDoimit. I know the state border literally splits McDoimit in half. Apparently I'm not going to ever stop saying McDermott as McDoimit now. Because I took a wrong twine at Albuquerque. I took a wrong twine at Albuquerque. Turkey. Oh, I am very confused. There should be... Oh, wait, this, you know what, this would make sense if this actually would have play host to McDoimit. McDoimit. It is too small, though. You know what I have to say there. That's when she said when she left me. Anyway, stop doing that, dude. It's somewhere in here. I know I'm wildly close. I don't think it's along this river. I'm pretty sure it's not even along a river. There is a highway here, though. Where is McDoimit? Is this McDoimit? No, that's a sand flat. I think this is McDermott, actually. Although I don't remember having a fucking field. Is you McDermott? Issue McDoimit. Well, let's find out. There's Abert. Goose Lake. Actually, that's a great idea. I should have looked for Goose Lake. That would make sense. No, McDermott's much further east than I thought. Did I accidentally find myself in Denio? Is that what I did? I'm being stupid. We obviously need this. No, we did not. Where did I find myself? Oh, I probably found myself up here. Actually, did I find myself in Fields by accident? I don't... Did I? Was it Fields? No, it was not. Where the fuck did I find myself? This feels like this was the road that it was. Wasn't this the right shape? Your ex-wife was the right shape for me, to be honest. Why am I like this? Why am I a child? A literal child. A cichlid, if you will. Well, would you looky-dar? I shouldn't doubt myself. That's the second time I did that today, too. I didn't really doubt myself with that, well, you know, there's this little nodule. This lump. That tells me this is where the border of the fucking Canada and US border is fucking located. Meanwhile, I'm like, well, actually, I think I'm gonna doubt myself here. Apparently that was stupid. Because, I mean, yeah. I like how State Line Road is not on the state line. Good job. Yes, McDoimit. The fuck is the point of McDermott, by the way? I still want to figure out its history and understand how this even happened. How did this town happen? Like, I highly doubt that pioneers, right? I highly doubt that the people from what caldera? The people from the Oregon Trail likely doing well. No, I guess it would. Well, would it be? No, it wouldn't be. It would be a branch off of the Applegate Trail, actually, which is itself a branch off of the uh, California Trail. But yeah, I guarantee there is no way in hell, heaven, or high water they have a rodeo. Really? I can't imagine they give very many people out for it. That could be fun to go to just because of how small it would be. It would be kind of funny. There apparently is a hangar. It's such an obscure place to leave the airport, which is, by the way, this is a long, long landing strip for such a tiny little airport. Like, actually, this might be able to support a commercial airliner, which is very bizarre. This also looks like there was an, I think the airport actually was originally here. Like, look at this. See this? It's the right width. And there's this right here. You see this? Boink, boink, boink. Guaranteed. I 100% guarantee this was where the airport was originally. Which is probably why the hangars actually supposedly was, at least was, over here. Where now, obviously, it probably just isn't existent. Either that or it's just derelict because they abandoned it. See that? There's your turnaround point. So yeah, I just confirmed it to myself. The airport was originally here. And obviously, it couldn't have been very long ago that the airport strip was here. In fact, they're both still called McDermott Road, which is interesting. You can tell it wasn't that long ago that it got rid of. Maybe at most, I'd say 5 years ago. Because, I mean, even the growth patterns, like, nature's too quick to reclaim. So, 100%, this had to have been within the last 5 years that McDermott must have moved their airstrip. So this is fun. This is turning into just a map exploration thing now. Trying to end this now like 15 minutes ago and twice, and now I'm just sitting here like, actually, let's explore the map. Did I get it? Done it? Yeah, I did. It would be cool is if the Stagecoach Espresso. I always want to say Espresso. Fuck it. Stagecoach Espresso. Those are definitely peanut butter cookies because they have the fork marks. They look fucking great, and I'm not a peanut butter guy, but I will down a damn good peanut butter cookie. Even though I don't really like peanut butter otherwise. Fubber. Nice tie-dye. If the Stagecoach Espresso was actually in a stagecoach that, like, historically maintained, that would be so fucking cool. But alas, it is not. Because we cannot have nice things in the USA. But yes. Anyway, there you go. There's that. So, if anyone has any idea as to the point and the history of McDermott, by the way, please let me know. Because like I was saying, I cannot imagine that historically pioneers on the split off from the Applegate / California Trail just decided, like, you know what? This is a perfect place for a town and ranches. Let's settle here. And then they just did. And then people stayed. I can't imagine that. Like, I almost feel like this had to have been an accident. Or it had to have been a military outpost. Like, or I suppose it could have been along a Native American trail. And this was originally a Native American establishment. That could be. That could be. And then I know they went through the Black Rock Desert and up through the Alvord and everything. One of the branches did. Off of the California Trail when they decided to actually be like, you know what, actually, I do want to actually go to Oregon territory. And then they did. And then they died. Probably. Most of them. Anyway. But yeah. So, I like... Yeah, in fact, actually, that I wouldn't doubt that some of these towns like this only happened because some of the wagon trains stayed behind when, like, somebody got really sick or really injured. I could totally see that that's how towns like these could happen. Which would, you could argue, is technically classified as an accident because it wasn't technically intentional, to actually stay there and put the roots down and start building a town. Like, it would have just been out of, necessity almost. And, compassion for for the people that might have been sick and or injured. And so they'd have to stop, and then they just decided, you know what? I guess we'll stay. And then they did. And then everyone died. But no, I would be such a great parent. Just like every story, I would just, hey, Basquet's back on the map. It's a miracle. I'm actually super fucking jazzed about that. I'm so fucking jazzed about this because it disappeared off the map like a decade ago, and it's been gone for a full decade off of Google Maps. It just has not existed. You can't find a reference to it in Wikipedia for the last decade. But Basquet, before it was Rome, actually, Basquet was, and before it was Burns as well for some of them. Basquet was the town, or the spot in the road, if you will, that the local weather stations use for the southeast corner of Oregon and their weather. Basquet's back. Basquet. That's so cool! It's back! Hang on. Which means that Wikipedia has its page back. I knew it couldn't have turned into a ghost town. But these towns that are used like that, they'll just randomly go through like a decade where they'll just be removed from maps and Wikipedia, and they'll be like, oh, they obviously cease existence. And it's like, they didn't cease existence. You know that there's still people there. So what's going on, kind of thing. I don't know why this is like a theme, but it seems like they cycle every few decades. Like, which one is going to be that disappears? Is it going to be Jordan Valley next? Is it going to be Basquet? Is it going to be Rome? Who's it going to be? Right now it's Rome, it seems like. And possibly Jordan Valley. I think it's just Rome right now, though. But yeah. Okay. I want to see, like, Basque immigrants. Really, Basque immigrants. So it actually is named that because of Basque immigrants. Really? I did not know that. Oh, southeastern Oregon. Okay, I right-clicked and it immediately opened it. That's a weird one. I can see if I left-clicked. Why did I right-click do that? What was the last known population? Let us see. Nearly a mile up, because it just plateaus. Thus, high desert. Desert. Do we have population statistics? Probably not, because it's so fucking small, they probably actually don't track it. And you can actually see that they don't list it at all, unfortunately. So it actually said Basque apparently, but I would say Basque because it just feels better. It sounds better. Basque. More fun to say. 2020 census school district reference map. Here we go, but it's apparently archived from the original on October 9th, 2022, retrieved March of this year, 2025. Interesting. Okay, so they don't specifically list it, but they have like this archive record apparently, which ghostarchive.org. No, don't give me the Twin Towers error. What the hell's wrong with you? Rude. So, wait, but it also okay. They both said school districts, so now I'm really confused. But like, if it's a school district, oh, it's an actual fucking map, of the whole county. Oh, I okay. I didn't know that. Oh, fuck me. Um, wait, is this how the school districts do the census of like how many people live places? They don't go by this town or the spot in the road. They go by the fucking section of the county? What? I can't fucking zoom for some reason. Braze. I'm so confuzzled. Units. This is, it's weird. That means that like the school district does this weird thing in Malheur County. Canada. Okay, cool. What? Label style. Canada. Huh? The fuck you talking about? New York. Nana and RC. Tama, what in that? Is this just like font or a typeface? I'm gonna say font face. You're a fucking font face. God damn, fuck you. International symbol description. What are you talking about? What are you, George R. Tolkien, about? This is not helpful. Why is this like listed as if it has any kind of census thing? Because there's no population. But yeah, at least Bosque is back on the map. Anyway, I'm getting way too distracted, so I'm gonna force myself to shut the fuck up. Actually, look at that. It is there. Both of them are. Rome and Jordan Valley. It's a miracle. Pillars of Rome. Really, I've never heard of this, actually. Interesting. I've never, ever in my life heard of this. But that is weird. That is cool, but that is... Those are funky, man. Those don't look real at all. They look like somebody went and took like a 2000s games graphics and updated it to modern graphic settings. This don't look real at all. It's super cool though. It looks like sandstone. It doesn't look that very volcanic. A little bit of red here and there, but it doesn't look very volcanic, and it doesn't look very limestoney. It looks very sandstone. Very interesting. Huh. All right, anyway, like I said, I'm going to force myself to stop recording. So, it's now about an hour and 40 minutes. Fuck my life. Anyway, let me know the things that I told you to let me know in the comments. Please, thank you. And apparently there's a place called Comical Turn. Really? Comical Turn? Is that even real? Chalk out? Okay. I don't think it's real. Comical Turn. It's literally labeled on a turn, but it's labeled like it's a place and it's not. But I wonder if this is along the Oregon Trail. The historic Oregon Trail. It shows it's an actual road, but I'm actually curious if it even is. Comical Turn. Okay, cool. Alright, anyway, I'm gonna shut the fuck up. Bye-bye.